Hello guys! So last time I talked to you about an exam that I was going to take, my entrance exam for the master's degree that at first I was not planning to do, and then I thought I would try. So here's the deal, it didn't go well at all. In other words, I failed the exam. It was actually today that they officially announced the successful applicants, but even before that I could tell that it didn't go well. So my supervising professor called me into his office and said that it was a pity that I did well on the first screening, so the one with the documents and the English proficiency exam, but that, as I probably know, I did not exactly do well on the written exam. Especially the next day after the written exam, there was an interview or an oral exam, and there was a list of candidates that made it to the interview. And it was not said black and white that these were the people that had the higher results on the written exam, but the chances were it was either that or it was like maybe people who were somewhere in between getting accepted and not getting accepted. So the fact that I was not called to the interview meant that either it didn't go well enough or that it went so well that I wouldn't need the interview, and realistically the latter was really not something that could have happened. So a little more about the exam, the organization. As I'd said, it was entirely online, so there was nothing really specific about the organization. When we were taking the exam, we were each candidate was in a separate breakout room, and there were as many proctors as candidates, so there was always someone in the room with you, and the camera had to be on, and then screen sharing had to be on to make sure you are not looking at anything but the exam paper. And there was this kind of weird atmosphere because the proctors did not have their cameras on, and they didn't even have their names on screen. Rather, it just said like proctor and some number. So, and then sometimes they would just call out and say like, can you please tilt your camera so we can see your desk, or can you show the room around you to make sure that the candidate is not cheating. So it just, let's say, it made me think of something.
Layer 52. Show us your desk.
You mean candidate?
Yes.
Because you said player. Okay. Am I allowed to go to the bathroom, please? Am I? I'll be right back. As for the content of the exam, it was hard, but mostly it was just long. It was longer of an exam than I could have managed with my level of training, my level of experience with this kind of material. Like I said before, questions were on mathematics, calculus, and linear algebra, and then the second half was on informatics and algorithms. So I feel like if I'd had 5 hours instead of the 2 hours that I had, I might have done a decent job, but it was far from being enough. For example, I'll just mention the beginning of the exam where there was a matrix and you were asked to like find inverse matrix, which is achieved in a number of steps, like you find the determinant, then you're asked to find the eigenvectors and eigenvalues of the matrix, and then I think I'm missing a couple of steps, but then the last thing linked to the matrix was you had to find, so the matrix was called A, you had to find A, then superscript 50. And I had never seen a matrix like that with a superscript, so I was trying to make out what it means. Is it an exponent, or is it like something that if multiplied by the matrix gives a 50? I know it doesn't make much sense, but I was thinking about the zero matrix, which is denoted with a superscript 0, and then the reverse matrix, which is denoted as a -1. So under the stress, I really couldn't have thought deeply enough what this meant, and just the fact that I'd never seen it before meant that I was lacking training. So when I was done with what I just mentioned, I was 1 hour and a half into the exam, and I wish this had been the first out of 4 problems, but it was the first half of the first out of 4 problems. So you can tell I couldn't have managed with the time and training that I had. And I'm actually very thankful to friends and family for thinking it would go well, and for thinking that it had gone well even after me saying that it hadn't. I am flattered to have them have this opinion of me, but honestly, if I had felt that it had gone well, or if I had even fathomed the possibility that it had, I would have said so. I wouldn't have said that it went so bad just to get a compliment or something. You guys want to see my, I was going to say draft, but it's not a draft, it's my actual exam. Because when you do it from home, it just stays with you. So these were the things I was talking about. So the matrices, and is it focused? I mean, not that it matters, not that it makes any sense. So there were the matrices, and then the second part of the first problem, and that's about when I realized I had no time, so this one was too hard, so I just tried a couple of things and then just stopped trying. And then here's some algorithms and big O notation and stuff. I think this one didn't go too bad, but I did it in 10 minutes, and that was far from enough. And then the last one, I didn't even read the whole thing. This is a linked list, and I was supposed to explain why it's better in some cases than a regular array in order to store data. So I don't regret anything. I don't regret taking the exam. I feel like the training was useful, and I would try again actually, even though I'm not sure if it's optimal for my academic plans. Actually, I will be interested to see if I can pass this thing. The next exam is in August, and it's the harder version. That's the same for Japanese and international students, and that includes more narrow subject areas, such as machine learning or cognitive psychology and so on. And I actually feel like I could learn some things that I wouldn't have learned otherwise. And I am so in awe with the abilities of the people around me who actually passed this exam. I'm like, wow, just wow. And the next time I struggle to be patient with my son or with my students, I'm going to think about this exam. Thank you for joining me. See you next time. Bye bye.